What's up, y'all? Pro Baller back again with another video where today I am going to be predicting the 2024 college football playoffs. Now, this is the first year with the 12-team playoff format. I honestly like it. But also, this is my first year fully watching college football. I watched a lot of games. And honestly, my three teams, you already know, Michigan State, they did awful. And then Eastern is also my team. They did awful. And then Florida, they got a bowl game. So they started off the season bad, but hey, they locked in at the end. They beat Ole Miss. They almost beat Georgia. They should have beat Georgia, Lagway got injured. So today I'm going to be doing my prediction. I'm going to be honest, y'all. If I have any bad takes, please do not flame me. Anyway, here we go. So the first team we got here, or the first matchup, we're going to go from left to right. We got Clemson versus Texas. Now, Texas, they lost to Georgia in overtime. This is being made the day of when the bracket comes out. They lost. They lost to Georgia in overtime. Honestly, it was a very entertaining game, but I got to be honest, Texas did not look great. But on the other hand, Clemson did not look great at all during that SMU win. They barely won it. They allowed, I don't even remember how many unanswered points. I think it was like 17 unanswered points. SMU almost came back. They tied it up. Clemson kicks the walk-off field goal to win. But I honestly don't think they're going to have enough power to get it done this time. I think that Texas, although I do think that Texas is honestly not that great, especially this year, I think they're going to win, and they're going to be facing off against Arizona State. Just Clemson, from what I saw last night, if they had won in that blowout fashion, I would definitely give them the favor there. I would say they're going to go to the next round, but in all honesty, both of these teams have not looked great recently, and I honestly think that Texas is going to barely squeak by and go on to versus Arizona State. Now, the second matchup is Tennessee versus Ohio State. Now, this is an interesting one because from what I remember, Tennessee has a really, really, really good defensive line. And from what I saw in the Ohio State game, they crumbled when they had to go against Michigan, which, once again, y'all, MSU fans, so Michigan, there are ops, bro. Do not mess with Michigan at all. But I will give them credit. They played great defense against Ohio State. And honestly, Will Howard did not look good in that game at all. And if he's going to have to go against the Tennessee defensive line, I think he's honestly going to struggle as much, if not more, than Michigan. Although, yes, I do know Michigan has a great defense. But Tennessee's defensive line is really good. And although this is at home, I'm going to say that Tennessee is going to pull off the upset, and they're going to go on to versus Oregon. Now, the next matchup is SMU versus Penn State. SMU almost pulled off an amazing comeback in the AAC championship game yesterday, but they failed, like I said earlier. But honestly, they looked really good in the fourth quarter. They looked pretty good, especially in those last minutes. They looked really good. They looked like, if they had played like that the whole game, they looked like a team that could take down Penn State. But I think that, honestly, although, yes, Penn State has had a couple really bad games, like the Ohio State game, where they almost won it, but just sold it at the end. And then the Big Ten championship yesterday, I know it's Oregon, but the score did not tell how bad of a game that was for Penn State. Penn State, although I will say, I am going to say that they are going to advance to the next round. Unfortunately, sorry, SMU fans. I just think they are the better team, and with home field advantage, you do not want to play at Penn State Stadium. But I do think Penn State's going to win, although I do not think they are going to go that far in my bracket. Now, we got Indiana versus Notre Dame, and I apologize, y'all, if y'all see right here. Notre Dame, this is their old logo, although it's a W logo still. But it is their old logo, so the site I'm using playoff predictors. They did not update this at all. But, yeah, this is the matchup. And Notre Dame, they haven't versed that many great opponents this year, but neither has Indiana. Let's get it straight. Let's just say it as it is. Indiana has not versed almost any comp this whole year except for Ohio State, and they got stomped. So this probably, I don't know, no disrespect to Indiana fans, but I got Notre Dame winning. So that means in my first round, I have all the favorite teams, all the home teams winning, except for Ohio State. I think Ohio State's going to go out in the first round. I think Indiana and SMU are going to put up a good fight, but Indiana has not versed any good teams. And yeah, Notre Dame hasn't either, but Notre Dame is a way more established program than Indiana. And I will say, though, if Indiana were to, if they had better strength of schedule, I honestly would probably take them over Notre Dame, but Notre Dame is just more established, and honestly, I think they're going to win it, especially with them being at home. Also, y'all, I apologize if I sound nasally as frick. I have a little bit of a cold, but anyway, so next matchup is Texas versus Arizona State. Now, Arizona State got the bye. That honestly, it kind of surprised me, but honestly, at the same time, they've looked really good these past couple games. They destroyed Iowa State. They beat BYU, and they've been on a roll these past couple of games. On the other hand, and this is all these, by the way, if y'all are also new to college football, neutral stadiums here from here on out. No more home field advantage, so that goes out the window. Texas, they've looked good in some games, but other games they haven't. Like Georgia, they've lost to them 2 times, and honestly, I don't think Georgia's that great of a team. My Florida Gators, and yes, I know it's weird that I have 3 teams, but in all honesty, Eastern Michigan, one of my teams, is probably never going to do anything. I root for them because they're a smaller school. So with all of this being said, I think this is going to be a close game, but honestly, I got to go Texas. I don't think they're going to, honestly, y'all, I'm going to spoil this next round. I don't think they're going to freaking win. I don't think they're going to the Natty, but I do think they're going to pull it out in a stupid way. They're going to barely win. Arizona State fans are going to be furious. But I think Texas is going to advance to the semifinals. Next up is Tennessee versus Oregon. This is going to be a good one, y'all, because Oregon they almost lost to Wisconsin, but they have looked great the whole year. They're undefeated, and they deserve that 1 seed. And I'm not going to pick Tennessee, unfortunately. Oregon is just too good for them, in my opinion. I got to go Oregon here, and my thing just broke. Tennessee has a lot. They honestly could win this game. I'd say this is probably the 3rd or 2nd hardest opponent that Oregon has had to verse this year. But I don't think that Tennessee is good enough to get it done, unfortunately. I think Oregon is they honestly might win it all this year. I'm still undecided on that, though. Next up is Penn State versus Boise State. Very good matchup, and Boise State has looked great all year. Ashton Jeanty is, in my opinion, easily the Heisman. It could obviously also be Travis Hunter, but he just has looked unreal this season. 7 yards per carry or something like that. Ashton Jeanty has looked amazing. And Penn State, honestly, could be in some trouble here. They do have a pretty good run defense, but this game is ultimately going to come down to Ashton Jeanty. If he can prove that he is the Heisman, that he deserved it or deserves it, whatever, he is going to win. He will win. But if Penn State comes out swinging, if they can't get the run game established, if Boise State can't get the run game established, Penn State will probably win, unfortunately, for Boise State. But I do think with the bye week, Boise State is going to be in a good position. They're going to have a lot of time to game plan against Penn State, although Penn State could switch up their scheme against Boise State. But ultimately, I do think Boise State is going to advance to the semifinals and to go on to either versus Notre Dame or Georgia. Now the next matchup is Notre Dame versus Georgia. Georgia, this might come off as Georgia hate, but I just don't think they're worthy of the 2nd seed, in my opinion. Although they have had some good moments this year, they've also had some really bad moments. They almost lost to a backup quarterback in Florida. And that was just, it honestly looked like Florida was going to win that game, but enough bias here. But they also have looked great at moments. They are very, in my opinion, sporadic, especially this season. And some could argue they're worthy of the 2nd seed. I tend to lean towards that Obviously, they're going to get it because of their record and because they won the SEC championship. But I think they're more of like, in terms of talent this year or how they've done, like an 8 or 9 seed or maybe like a 7 seed. I don't see them as one of the top teams in the league this year. But on the other hand, Notre Dame could cause some problems for Carson Beck. He has not looked great this year. I think he struggles against really good defenses. I think he struggles against when the lights are brightest, in my opinion. So, and once again, y'all, first year watching college football, but from what I've seen from Carson Beck, I don't think he is like that great of a quarterback. I think Georgia fans could agree on that. So, this is going to be probably the biggest upset, but I think Notre Dame is going to barely pull it off. I don't know why Boise State wasn't already up there, but I think Notre Dame is barely going to pull it off, and they're going to go on to versus Boise State in the semifinals. Now for the semifinals, we got Texas versus Oregon. Honestly, all right, there's your prediction. But in all seriousness, Oregon has just looked dominant. Texas these past couple games has not. They've had a lot of issues. Oregon has looked, they're literally the best team in college football this year. They're the number 1 seed. Although I honestly think they could have lost to Tennessee. I'm honestly considering switching this back, but I'm not 100% sure. I will keep the prediction though. I won't switch this back. But I do think Oregon's going to go to the national championship. They've just looked dominant. And honestly, on the other side of the bracket, this is going to be a tough one to choose. This is going to be tough. Boise State versus Notre Dame. Now, the thing with Notre Dame, they're a very good defense. They do not allow a lot of points. But Ashton Jeanty has looked amazing the entire year. But then again, who has he versed? Mountain West Conference teams. So you have to take that into account. Ultimately, though, this is going to be insane, but I think Boise State is going to go to the national championship. The whole storyline this year has been Ashton Jeanty. Notre Dame, in my opinion, has not versed that great of competition. Their strength of schedule has not been that great. But they are going to put up a great fight. I think this is probably going to be the closest game of the entire playoffs. And then it comes down to Oregon versus Boise State, who versed earlier this year, and Oregon barely pulled it off in their own arena. But this time, this is insane. Once again, I'm a college football noob. If this is wrong, forgive me. But I think Boise State is going to pull off the biggest upset and be the national champs this year. I think Oregon, although they have looked amazing, I think Boise State and Ashton Jeanty is going to cause a lot of issues for them. Last time he played 3 touchdowns, almost 200 yards. He played phenomenal, and that was at their stadium. This time it's going to be in a neutral environment. And in college football, a lot of the fans make a huge impact. And when you're not at home, when it's a neutral environment, yes, there's going to be a lot of fans still, Oregon's fans, Boise State fans, but it's definitely going to be a mitigated effect. And ultimately, I do think Boise State is going to take it home, and they are going to be your 2024-2025 college football champions, the national champions. So this is my bracket. Once again, if y'all have anything to fix, go ahead and put it in the comments. Once again, I'm a college football noob. It's my first year watching. And honestly, I'm gonna be honest, if MSU or any of EMU, Florida, any of my teams were in here, I'd probably pick them at least once. But since they aren't, this was my totally unbiased opinion. Apart from Georgia, I had a little bias there, but this is pretty much my unbiased opinion. I do think that Boise State is gonna get it done. That first week bye is definitely it's huge for them. They're only going to have to play 3 games if they make it to the national chip, so they'll only have to play this semifinals and the national chip. I do think this is going to be a great year for the college football playoffs, especially with a 12-team bracket. A lot more games, a lot more crazy moments. But I hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace out.